The man no one noticed. The small bakery sat quietly on a street corner in Los Angeles, tucked between a laundromat and a bookstore that rarely got visitors. There was no grand sign above the door, just the name Bloom and Flower written in soft cursive on the glass. Most people who walked past never realized who owned it, and that was exactly how Keanu Reeves wanted it. It started as a silent dream, a way to remember his mother. She used to bake every Sunday, cinnamon rolls, honey bread, and little chocolate glazed donuts that always made the whole apartment smell like love. When she passed, he didn't want a statue or a charity in her name. He wanted something real, something warm. So he opened a bakery, quietly. No press, no ribbon cutting, not even his name on the business license. Just Bloom and Flower and a team of young bakers who believed they worked for a man named Kenneth. On this gray morning, Keanu walked in dressed in a plain, brown hoodie and worn jeans. He liked it that way, unnoticed. Just a man coming in for breakfast. His hair was tied back, a little gray showing at his temples, and he had that tired kindness in his eyes that made people instinctively feel safe around him. The smell of fresh donuts, lemon zest, and melting butter filled the air. The place was calm. Only 2 customers sat near the window whispering over coffee. The cashier, a teenage girl with short purple hair named Ellie, gave him a sleepy nod. "Morning, Ken," she mumbled, punching his usual order into the system. He smiled. "Hey, Ellie, how's your grandma?" Her eyes lit up. "Better. Thanks for asking." He moved to the side and waited. But as he stood there, hands in his pockets, he noticed something strange. 2 of the bakers in the kitchen were talking, loudly. One of them, Jonas, a young man Keanu had personally interviewed, seemed angry. "I'm telling you, man," Jonas said, not realizing Keanu could hear. "This whole place is a joke. We're making fancy bread for Hollywood moms who tip like 2 cents. And that owner? He's never even around. Just signs checks and hides somewhere rich." The other baker laughed, mixing batter carelessly. "He probably doesn't even know our names," Jonas scoffed. "Seriously, we break our backs back here and he's probably off in Malibu sipping something expensive. You ever seen him?" "I haven't." Keanu froze. The donut in his hand felt heavier than usual. He looked at the soft glaze, the perfect texture. He remembered the night they tested 20 recipes just to get the taste right. He remembered bringing soup to Jonas last month when he had the flu. He remembered every name, every birthday, every story shared over break. But Jonas didn't know that. Keanu stayed quiet. He took his donut, nodded at Ellie, and stepped outside, into the misty morning. He didn't even taste the donut as he walked. His feet led him nowhere. Just down sidewalks littered with wet leaves, past children waiting for school buses, past a man selling flowers from a cart, past laughter and silence and everything in between. The city moved, but Keanu felt still, like something inside him had cracked open. Not out of anger, out of something deeper, disappointment, heartbreak. When he opened the bakery, he wanted to give people a home, not just a job, a real place. He thought he had, but maybe he had been too quiet. Maybe silence, even when meant kindly, can become a wall. Hours passed. Around noon, he returned to the bakery through the back door, unnoticed. He watched. He listened. He saw Jonas rushing between stations, sweating, focused. He saw the other bakers teasing each other with smiles. He saw Ella helping a little girl pick out a cupcake and tying her shoelaces when the child's mother struggled with a baby stroller. This place was still good. It still had heart, but something had to change. That night after closing, Keanu asked everyone to stay behind. The staff gathered, some confused, others nervous. Keanu stood there, not as Ken, the quiet regular, but as himself. His presence changed the room. Mouths dropped. Silence filled the air. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make a speech about who he was. Instead, he said something simple. "I heard what was said this morning, and it hurt, but not because it was cruel, because it reminded me that maybe I haven't done enough." Everyone was quiet. He looked at Jonas. "You said you've never seen the owner?" I understand why you feel that way. And I take responsibility. But that changes today. Starting now, this place isn't just a bakery. It's a family. And families don't hide from each other. No one knew what to say. Jonas stepped forward, eyes wide. Wait, you're the real owner? Keanu nodded. Yeah, and I'm proud of every one of you, even when you don't see me. A tear slipped down Ellie's cheek. Why didn't you tell us? Keanu gave a soft smile. Because I thought being invisible would let the bakery shine on its own. But I forgot. Light is meant to be shared. And then, without planning it, without anyone saying a word, the whole room erupted. Tears, laughter, apologies, hugs, everyone talking at once. It wasn't chaos, it was healing. But deep down, Keanu knew this was only the beginning. The real story was just starting. The cracks behind the counter the next morning, something felt different in bloom and flower. Not louder, not busier, just warmer. There was a new kind of energy in the air, like the bakery had finally exhaled after holding its breath for too long. The staff arrived earlier than usual, eyes still heavy but filled with curiosity and maybe a little hope. And there he was, Keanu, already inside, rolling up his sleeves in the back. No hoodie today, just a simple white apron and a smile. L.A. nearly dropped the box of muffin mix when she saw him at the sink washing dishes. You're helping? She whispered. He looked up with a playful grin. If I'm going to be part of the team, I've got to earn my keep, right? She laughed, nervously. You don't have to do that. But I want to, he said gently. That's the point. By 6:30 a.m., Keanu had scrubbed 3 trays, helped shape 2 batches of croissants, and even burned his thumb slightly on a hot pan, which he brushed off with a small wince and a chuckle. He didn't act like a celebrity. He acted like someone who belonged. Someone who was trying to rebuild something invisible. Trust. Around 7 a.m., the first customers trickled in. A young mother with twin toddlers, a tired nurse coming off a night shift, an old man who always ordered a plain scone and sat near the window reading old detective novels. Keanu took a step back and watched them, watched how the bakery quietly held these people together. He noticed things no one else did, like how the mother kept glancing at her phone, her hands trembling, or how the nurse blinked hard, like she was trying not to cry. He didn't know their stories yet, but he would, and then came the moment he didn't expect. Jonas approached him quietly, holding a small tray of cinnamon twists. I owe you an apology, he said, eyes on the tray. Keanu paused, then looked at him. Why don't we talk about it over coffee? They sat at the corner table away from the ovens and the front register. Jonas was nervous, twisting his fingers, words stuck in his throat. Keanu waited patiently, sipping from a chipped mug. I didn't mean what I said, Jonas finally muttered. Well, maybe I did in that moment, but I didn't know who you were. I thought the owner didn't care. I thought you were just another rich guy hiding behind a logo. Keanu nodded slowly. That's fair, but it still hurt. I know. I'm sorry, I was angry. Not just at you, at everything. My dad's been sick. I'm paying rent for my mom and my sister's tuition. I thought this job would be a step forward, but sometimes it feels like I'm just stuck in flour and steam. Keanu leaned forward. You're not stuck. You're standing in something that matters. Every person who walks in here, every smile you help create, it means something. It's not just bread, Jonas. It's care. Jonas's eyes filled with tears. I didn't think you'd forgive me. That's the thing, Keanu said, voice soft. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to listen, and I'm staying. Jonas looked down, nodded, and whispered, Thank you. That afternoon, Keanu gathered the whole team. It wasn't an announcement. It was a conversation. I want us to grow, he said. Not just the bakery, but us, together. This isn't just a job. It's a chance to make a mark in the world, one cup of coffee at a time. He shared ideas, a staff profit-sharing plan, a new break room with books and couches, scholarships for those wanting to study culinary arts. health benefits, mental health days. The team was stunned. Why? One of the bakers asked. Why are you doing all this? Keanu smiled gently. Because I was once the guy who needed someone to believe in me, and now I get to be that person for you. There was a silence. Not awkward, just full. Like everyone was processing the fact that they were seen, really seen. But just as the mood lifted, trouble knocked. Literally. The front door slammed open. A man in a suit marched in, followed by two others. The one in front looked furious. Kenneth Reeves? He barked, holding up a folded letter. Keanu stepped forward. Yes? You've been served. He handed him the envelope and walked out without another word. The team stood frozen. Keanu opened the letter slowly, reading the words twice before folding it again. What is it? Elle asked, her voice small. Keanu looked up. Someone's trying to shut us down. Gasps echoed. Who? Jonas asked. The building's co-owner. He wants to sell the property to a developer. Apparently, my silence over the years gave him the chance to file things behind my back. So what happens now? Another baker asked. Keanu's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. Now, we fight. He didn't mean violence. He meant truth, effort, unity. But none of them knew just how hard the fight would get. Because what was coming next wasn't just about a bakery, it was about what people do when everything they've built is suddenly on the line, and whether kindness, when tested, could truly stand its ground. Flour, fire, and a fight worth facing. The bakery felt heavy that night. Not because of the ovens or the leftover trays or even the long hours. It was something deeper, something unspoken. Fear, the kind that creeps into your stomach and sits there, cold and quiet. Keanu stayed late. He stood alone at the sink, washing the last of the pans. His hands moved in circles, but his mind was somewhere else. He kept thinking about the letter, the bold black words that said terminate lease. 30 days. Like everything he had built could be taken with just a signature. He'd been quiet for too long, trusted the wrong people. And now the bakery, the one place that made him feel close to his mother, was slipping through his fingers. Behind him, footsteps echoed. You okay? It was Ella. She had stayed behind too. Maybe she couldn't sleep either. Keanu turned, tried to smile. Just thinking. About the letter? She asked softly. He nodded. You know, she said, leaning against the counter. My mom always says when people try to take something from you, you show them why you're worth keeping. Keanu looked at her. We'll fight, she added, her voice shaking a little. If you let us? He felt something shift inside him. Not fear, something stronger. Resolve. Okay, he said. We fight. By the next morning, the entire bakery was buzzing with purpose. Keanu gathered the team and laid everything out. The legal notice. The building's partial sale. The development plan for a luxury shopping complex. The co-owner, Greg Walden, wanted them gone so he could bulldoze the block and start fresh. And Keanu's silence over the years, his effort to stay behind the scenes, had made it easier for Greg to file quiet claims without protest. We have 30 days, Keanu said, voice steady. But I'm not leaving without a voice. Neither are we, Jonas added. They made a plan. First, awareness. Keanu reached out to a few journalist friends, not as a celebrity but as a local business owner. He shared the story of the bakery, the team, the memories. He talked about what bloom and flour meant to him. He didn't beg for sympathy. He told the truth. Second, the community. Elle designed flyers and social posts. Jonas started a petition. Customers came in with hugs and tears. Someone brought a hand-painted sign that read, "Don't bury beauty." Others left flowers at the window. The old man with the detective novel offered to speak at City Hall. I may be old, he said, but I still remember how to make noise. Third, legal help. Keanu called in a lawyer friend, Olivia, a sharp, fast-talking woman who had helped him once during a film rights issue. She showed up in sneakers and a no-nonsense stare. "You want this place saved?" she said. "Then get ready." Greg Walden plays dirty. She wasn't wrong. Just 2 days later, the bakery's electricity was mysteriously cut for an hour. Then, the trash bins disappeared. Then, health inspectors showed up without warning, citing minor code violations that had never been a problem before. Someone even threw a brick through the back window with a note. "Just leave." The staff began to crumble. "Is it worth it?" one baker asked. "What if we lose everything anyway?" Keanu looked at him, eyes tired but fierce. "What we're doing here isn't just about donuts. It's about dignity." And still, things got worse. One morning, a crew arrived unannounced and started painting demolition marks on the curb outside. Elle ran into the bakery breathless. "They're tagging the sidewalk." Keanu stepped out front, heart pounding. "Can I help you?" he asked calmly. One of the men shrugged. "We got orders. City permits just came through." Keanu didn't yell. He didn't threaten. Instead, he pulled out his phone, went live on social media, and filmed the scene. "This is Bloom and Flower," he said, holding the camera steady. "We've served this community for years. We've helped people, fed families, hired locals. And now someone wants to erase it. Not for progress, but for profit." The post exploded. Millions watched. People came from all over. Some drove 2 hours just to buy a muffin and take a photo. Others stood outside holding signs. Even celebrities quietly showed up in support. Sandra Bullock sent in a donation to help cover legal fees. A retired firefighter offered free security shifts at night. A local poet read verses in front of the store, drawing crowds every evening. Greg Walden took notice, and he fought back. His lawyers filed another notice. Cease community gathering on private property. Keanu didn't back down. Instead, he organized a street festival, 1 block down. Off private land. Free entry, music, food, stories, even kids' art displays of Bloom and Flower in crayon and glitter. During the festival, Keanu stepped up to the mic. "I never wanted attention," he said. "I just wanted to build something good, something my mother would have been proud of. But now, I see that being quiet won't protect good things. Sometimes kindness needs to be loud." The crowd roared, but the fight wasn't over. That night, Keanu returned to the bakery to find the front door open. Inside, flour covered the floor, broken trays. The register knocked over, and worst of all, someone had slashed every painting on the wall. He stood in the doorway, breathing deeply. His fingers clenched, his eyes burned. Jonas and Ellie arrived moments later. "Oh my God," Elle whispered, hands to her mouth. Jonas stepped inside slowly. Who would do this?" Keanu picked up one of the fallen picture frames. It held a photo of his mother smiling beside an oven. The glass was shattered. "Someone who's scared of what we've built," he said quietly. The next day, Keanu made a decision. No more hesitation. They were going to fight in court and win. But first, he had to show the judge and the world what Bloom and Flower really meant, not just to him, but to everyone it touched. The truth under oath, the courtroom was colder than Keanu expected, not just in temperature but in energy. Sharp suits, hard stares. Everything felt stiff and official. There was no smell of cinnamon here, no laughter over coffee. Just silence, paperwork, and the weight of consequences. He sat beside Olivia, his lawyer. She was calm, tapping a pen on her folder. Across the aisle sat Greg Walden, clean-cut, confident, and grinning like the outcome had already been decided. His lawyers whispered around him like vultures. Keanu looked at him and didn't feel anger, only sadness. How far a person would go to erase something beautiful for the sake of money. The judge, a woman with silver hair and thoughtful eyes, entered the room and took her seat. The trial had begun. Olivia stood first. "Your Honor," she said clearly, "we are here to fight for a bakery. But more importantly, we are here to defend what that bakery represents. Bloom and Flower is not just a business. It is a community, anchor. And we intend to prove that Greg Walden's actions are not just unethical, they're unlawful. The opposing lawyer rose next. Your Honor, this is a property dispute, nothing more. My client, Mr. Walden, lawfully owns part of the building and has every right to sell or develop it. Sentiment has no legal standing. The judge nodded. Understood. Proceed. Keanu took a deep breath. The first 2 days were tough. Greg's team brought documents, contracts, loopholes. They argued Keanu had neglected key updates to the lease, hadn't filed certain paperwork, and had no legal grounds to block the demolition. Olivia countered with emails, signed checks, and community testimonies. Then came the turning point. On day 3, Olivia stood and said, "We'd like to call Mr. Reeves to the stand." Keanu walked slowly to the front. People in the audience leaned forward. Some recognized him, but he didn't care about his fame here. He cared about the truth. He sat, raised his hand, and swore the oath. "Mr. Reeves," Olivia began, "can you tell us why you opened Bloom and Flower?" He paused. "It started because of my mom," he said softly. "She used to bake when things were hard, when rent was late, or my dad was gone, or I failed a test, she'd bake. She said love could rise like dough if you gave it time. After she passed, I wanted to keep that feeling alive, so I opened this bakery. I didn't want attention. I just wanted something warm to stay in the world." The room was quiet. "And what has this bakery become to you now?" He looked around the courtroom. It became family. It gave people jobs, second chances. It gave shelter to a woman escaping a bad marriage, gave hope to a teenager who didn't believe she could finish school. It became more than what I ever planned. And now it's being threatened because I trusted the wrong partner." Olivia nodded. "Thank you. No further questions." Greg's lawyer stood. "Mr. Reeves, are you saying you did not read the contract you signed when entering this business arrangement?" Keanu sighed. "I read it. But I didn't expect greed to twist it. So it was your own neglect, wasn't it?" "No," Keanu said firmly. "It was my trust. I believed in a silent partnership. I believed people would do the right thing." The lawyer smirked. "And yet here we are." Keanu looked at him. "Yes, here we are. And you'll hear from the people this bakery saved." And that's exactly what the judge heard next. One by one, they came. A single mother who said the bakery gave her dignity when no other place would hire her. An ex-convict who turned his life around kneading dough and serving regulars with a smile. A high school girl who cried as she shared how Elle taught her to decorate cupcakes, and in doing so, taught her to believe in herself again. A retired man who said, "After my wife passed, that bakery was the only place I went where someone remembered my name." Every voice was raw, true, undeniable. Greg's team tried to argue against it, but every word from the community cut deeper than any legal clause. And then it happened. Elle took the stand. "I came to Bloom and Flower after my parents kicked me out," she said, trembling. "I didn't know where to go. I lied about my age just to get hired, and Keanu, he knew. But he didn't judge me. He sat me down, gave me soup, and said, 'You matter.' No one had ever said that to me before." She wiped her eyes. "This place saved my life." In the back, Keanu closed his eyes. He didn't know she'd gone through that, and yet she stood up there defending Bloom and Flower with her heart. Finally, the judge asked to hear from Greg Walden. He rose, walked to the stand, and adjusted his tie. "Your Honor," he said smoothly, "this is all very touching, but emotions don't pay bills. We're sitting on prime property. This bakery may be sweet, but it's small. I'm offering progress, condos, business, real income, the kind that helps the city." The judge looked unimpressed. "And you believe that progress should come at the cost of community?" "I believe that people can bake elsewhere." The room shifted. It was subtle but clear. He had just lost the room. After closing arguments, the judge asked for 1 day to review. That night, Keanu returned to the bakery. The team waited there, holding cups of tea, sitting on flour-sprinkled counters. No one spoke. They just waited. Together. Around midnight, a small knock came at the back door. It was Olivia. She walked in with a strange look on her face. "You should all sit down," she said. Heart stopped. Breath held. "We won," she whispered. "The judge ruled in our favor. Greg's claims were denied. The demolition is canceled. Bloom and Flower stays." The room erupted. Tears. Cheers. Laughter. Jonas threw his apron in the air. Ellie hugged Keanu so tightly he lost his breath. But it wasn't about celebration. It was about relief. Keanu stepped into the kitchen, looked at the old photo of his mother, on the wall now newly framed, and whispered, "We did it, Mom." But the victory wasn't just about saving a bakery. It was about saving belief. In kindness. In quiet good. In standing up when it matters most. When kindness becomes legacy, sunlight poured through the bakery windows the next morning, soft and golden, like the whole sky was celebrating. The fresh scent of bread drifted outside before the doors even opened. It was more than just a good baking day. Bloom and Flower had been saved, and the city knew it. People lined up down the block. They weren't there just for croissants or muffins. They were there to stand with something real. They brought handmade signs, old photos, handwritten letters. A little girl gave Keanu a drawing of the bakery with hearts all around it. Someone else brought a bouquet and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up." Inside, the team was buzzing. Ellie worked the counter, her eyes bright. Jonas was in the kitchen humming for the first time in weeks. The whole place felt like a living heart, beating, warm, steady. But Keanu wasn't celebrating. Not yet. He stood in the back office alone, looking at a letter on the desk. It wasn't from a lawyer or a customer, it was from Greg Walden. "Keanu, you may have won the case, but we're not finished. I still own a portion of the property. You can delay the future, but you can't stop it. Investors always come back." It ended with a name and a phone number. No apology. Just pressure. Keanu folded the letter slowly. This was the truth. No one talked about. Sometimes victory doesn't mean the battle is over. It just means you get a moment to breathe. But Keanu didn't want to fight forever. He wanted to build. That afternoon, he called a meeting with his staff. "We won the case," he said. "But it's not over. Greg still owns his share, and he's already making threats." They all looked worried again. "But," Keanu continued, "I have a plan. Something bigger." He paused, then looked at Jonas and Ellie. "I want to make you co-owners." Their jaws dropped. "What?" Elle said, blinking. "Me?" Jonas whispered. "Yes." Keanu nodded. "This place has always been about more than me. You're the heart of it now. If we spread ownership among the people who care the most, Greg's influence becomes weaker, and we protect this place from the inside out." There was silence. "But we don't have money to buy in," Elle said quietly. "You don't have to," Keanu said. "I'll gift the shares. It's not about profit. It's about protection." Jonas rubbed his face, overwhelmed. "No one's ever trusted me like that." Keanu smiled. "Well, it's time someone did." Word spread quickly. The media returned. Not for drama this time, but for inspiration. Movie star gives away bakery shares to staff. Keanu Reeves turns small business into community-led model, the bakery that kindness built. People wanted to learn from Bloom and Flower, how it survived, how it grew stronger, how it became more than just a storefront. Keanu gave interviews not as an actor, but as a neighbor. He talked about silent kindness, about baking hope, about how his mother once told him, "You don't have to be loud to change the world. Just steady." Meanwhile, Greg Walden's investors began to pull out. The courtroom loss, combined with public backlash, made his development plan look toxic. The city planning board quietly withdrew their early approvals. Suddenly, his power shrank. He called Keanu one night furious. "You think this is over?" Greg barked. "No," Keanu replied calmly. "But you've already lost what matters. Most people's trust." Greg hung up without a word. That night, Keanu returned to the bakery. It was after hours, the lights low. He walked past the counter into the kitchen, then to the back hallway where a single picture hung. His mother's photo. He stood there, quietly breathing it in behind him, footsteps. It was Ellie. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "Just thinking about her." Ellie looked at the photo. She would have been proud. Keanu didn't speak. His eyes glistened. "Thank you," Ellie added, "for trusting us, for everything." He turned to her. "You're the future of this place, all of you. I just got it started." "What will you do now?" she asked. "I'll stay for a while, teach what I know, but one day, I think I'll open another one, in a different neighborhood. Maybe somewhere quiet again. Somewhere people need warmth." Elle smiled. "Will you call it Bloom and Flower too?" Keanu looked at her and shook his head gently. "No. That name belongs here." And then something remarkable happened. The next morning, customers came not just from the city but from other states. Strangers donated flour. Someone sent a brand new espresso machine. A local artist painted a mural on the bakery's side wall. It showed hands of all colors holding up a loaf of bread, and at the top, written in flour dust letters, "Kindness rises." Greg Walden eventually sold his share of the building, silently, quietly, and for less than he hoped. The bakery team bought it with help from community fundraising, celebrity donations, and Keanu's quiet generosity. Bloom and Flower now truly belong to those who gave it life. But the story didn't stop there. Because one morning, an elderly woman walked in with a small folded envelope. She handed it to Keanu and said, "This was in your mother's handwriting. I was her neighbor once. I kept it just in case." Keanu opened the letter, his hands trembling. Inside was a simple message. "If one day you find yourself lost, bake something with love. It will bring you back." He held the note to his chest and smiled. Because he was home. Something warm to leave behind. It had been 6 months since the courtroom doors closed and the future of Bloom and Flower was secured. The bakery no longer felt like a fragile dream. It felt like something strong, something permanent, like roots that had finally gripped deep into the ground and refused to let go. The mornings were busier now. Lines formed before sunrise. Families came in with stories about how they heard about the place. On the news, through friends, on social media. But more than that, they came for the feeling. The peace. The kindness that seemed to bake into the walls like cinnamon in the air. Keanu still arrived early, not to manage, not to supervise, just to be present. Sometimes he mopped the floor. Sometimes he helped with deliveries. Sometimes he just sipped his tea and watched the staff work like a well-rehearsed symphony. Elle at the register, her hair, now dyed bright orange. Jonas behind the counter, training a new hire with patience and a soft voice. Everyone had grown. Not just in skill, but in heart. Keanu no longer needed to be the center of it, and maybe that was the whole point. One quiet afternoon, he sat in the back garden, a little space they had transformed with benches, herbs, and fairy lights strung above. The old wooden gate creaked open and Elle walked in, carrying a cupcake on a plate. "Carrot cake," she said with a grin. "You skipped lunch again?" He laughed and took it. "Thanks. Can I ask you something?" She sat down beside him. "Of course. You've done so much for us, but what do you want now?" Keanu looked at the sky. The clouds drifted slowly like flour in a breeze. "To be honest," he said, "I think I want to give this place completely to you all. Not just shares, not just ownership. The name, the decisions, the future. Everything." Her eyes widened. "You're leaving?" He shook his head. "Not disappearing, just stepping back. I've done what I came to do. I built something with love, and now it's yours to carry forward." She looked down at her hands. "What if we mess it up?" He smiled. "Then you'll learn. And fix it." That's what I did. The next morning, Keanu called a full team meeting. The bakery closed early that day. Customers smiled through the window, waving goodbye. unaware that something important was happening inside. The team gathered in the kitchen. Keanu stood in front of them, holding a small notebook, worn, soft, edges frayed. "This belonged to my mother," he said quietly. "Every recipe in here is hers. Her notes, her little drawings, even her doodles when she was bored. This book is the reason Bloom and Flower exists." He handed it to Jonas. "It belongs to you now, to all of you." The room was still. "You built this," Ella whispered. "No," Keanu replied. "We did, and now you'll take it further than I ever could." He took a breath, then pulled a small envelope from his pocket. One last surprise. Inside were documents, papers that made the bakery a cooperative business, officially owned by the workers. Every person in that room became a shareholder. No hierarchy, no silent bosses, just one team, moving forward as equals. They were speechless. Tears flowed. Someone whispered, "This isn't just a job anymore." "It never was," Keanu said. A week later, the news quietly announced that Keanu had started helping build a small school in a remote village. No big headline, no press event, just another quiet act of kindness. And back at Bloom and Flower, life went on. The oven still hummed, the music still played. Kids still giggled over cupcakes. People still came in with heavy hearts and left a little lighter. And sometimes, on quiet mornings, Keanu would walk in with his old hoodie and order a single glazed donut. L.A. would serve it with a smirk and say, "Name?" He'd grin and whisper, "Just a guy who likes good baking." No one needed to know who he was. They just needed to feel what he left behind, and they did, every single day.